Hello, welcome back. This video is all about integers. Integers refers to all the positive and negative numbers on a number line. So in this whole video, you're going to learn how to add and subtract integers and multiply and divide integers. This slide says the outline of the whole lesson on integers from beginning to end. We'll start off with using the number line to add and subtract integers so that you get an understanding of how it works and where it comes from. Then we will talk about a method called the jar method, which is very productive for when you're first starting to understand how to add and subtract integers. Then we will go into the actual rules for adding and subtracting. Then the rules for multiplying and dividing integers. And then in the end, we'll talk about simplifying integers. So let's go ahead and start with part 1, adding and subtracting integers on a number line. So when you're adding and subtracting integers, there's lots of different ways that you can be taught and how you can learn how to do it. All right, usually people start off with number lines. They use integer chips. So if you don't know what those are, they're very common chips that teachers use for lots of different things. Like one side could be yellow and the other side could be red. So a lot of people use those chips in class. There's something called the jar method, and then obviously there are the rules. But the point of showing you methods of how to add and subtract before you get to the rules is to try to make sure that you understand why the rules work. So let's look at this example. It says Jackie walks 6 steps forward and 2 steps backward on the number line. Where does she land? Okay. Well, we walk forward and backwards and even sideways all the time, even diagonally sometimes. But when we're working on a number line, we can only go forward or backward. So wherever you start is 0. So whenever we start with number lines, we start at 0. It says Jackie walks 6 steps forward. Well, to show 6 steps, I had to go all the way to 6. Okay, there you go. I went all the way to 6. But then it says 2 steps backward. Okay, well, from 6, I go 2 backwards. 1, 2. And this is where we land. Okay, if you can see, we land at 4. Makes sense because that's a positive 6. 6 minus 2 for backwards equals 4. Okay, that's what we're going to be talking about. Right here, it's saying positives and negatives. Well, this is just reminding you that positives are always to the right and negatives are always to the left on the number line. Okay. So let's use this understanding for other numbers. Let's continue right here. So it says 2 plus 6. Well, we know that 2 plus 6 is 8, but let's prove it on a number line. Okay, so we'll start at 0. We go over to 2. It's positive 2, so I'm going to go to the right. And that, if you want to look at it, it's 1, 2 jumps. Okay, then from 2, I'm going to add 6. Okay, well, it's kind of hard for me to determine how much 6 is. So I'm just going to go straight down here and I'm going to do little jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is where we're going to stop. Okay, so that proves that we land at 8. Well, what if you aren't very good about drawing lines and your little arrow goes stop short of 8. Do you see how it doesn't even go to 8? Well, what you can do if you're not a very good drawer, that's okay. I'm not going to hold that against you, but what I want you to do, what I need you to do is draw a little dotted line to where you intend for it to be. Do you see how I drew the dotted line to go straight to 8? Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to erase these little dots over here because they don't need to be there at all. That was just me showing you that I was going down. Okay, so there you go. That works. Let's look at the next one. So 5 minus 3. Well, I could do that in my head. 5 minus 3 is 2. So let's prove that it's 2 using a number line. So always start at 0. Okay. I'm going to go to 5. Here's 5. All right. I'm going to go above 5 to show that I'm going to do the second number. So it says minus 3. Ooh, minus means I'm going backwards. So I'm going to the left. So just to help, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to land at 2. Draw my dotted line and draw a line from here to here. All right, my line was not very good, so there we go. There we go, perfect. And you know where your answer is because it's where the end of the arrow is. That's your answer. So these two examples are meant to help you think about how to do this with everyday numbers that we use all the time. But now, let's look at what happens when we go into negative numbers. Okay, let's look at the first one. The first one says 8 minus 10. Oh, I don't really know what that is. I know what 10 minus 8 is. That's 2, but that's not the problem. The problem is saying 8 minus 10. So let's see what the number line says. Start at 0. I'm going to go all the way to 8. Then from 8, I'm going to go 10 jumps to the left. So from 8, I'm going to go 10 to the left because it says minus. Minus, you get smaller. When you go to the left on the number line, you get smaller. When you go to the right, you get bigger. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is where I land. Right here at negative 2. There we go. So my answer is minus 2. Negative 2, minus 2. You can think of it the same way. Okay, you can say it just like that. You can say minus 2 or negative 2. All right, it's the same thing. People talk about the same thing. Now let's look at the second one. This is example 4. As you can see, it says examples 3 and 4. This was number 3. This was number 4. Start at 0. I go to negative 5. Uh-oh. I go to negative 5. I'll make that look better. Go to negative 5. And then from 5, it says plus 3. Plus 3. That means I'm going to go to the right because when you add, your numbers get bigger. When we go to the right, our numbers get bigger. When we go to the left, they get smaller. Okay, so if I'm going to go to the right, I'm going to go to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. This is where I land at negative 2. So negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you go ahead and try these and see what you get. So press pause and then come back when you're done. All right, so hopefully maybe just the hardest part was you writing down number lines. Usually I will give you graphs that have the number lines, so don't worry so much about that. Okay, so we start at 0. I'm going to go to the right 3. Oh, well, how do I know I'm going to the right? Because it's a positive. If you don't see a sign like a positive or negative in front of the number, it's always positive. Okay, so I have positive 3, so I go to positive 3. But then I have to minus 11. Okay, minus, I go backwards. So I'm just going to use my jumps to help me because it's kind of hard to visualize and keep track of where I'm going if I'm doing it like this and trying to look at the numbers below. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is where I land. I'm just drawing the tip of the arrow, going down to negative 8. There we go. And the next one, start at 0. I got to go to negative 5. It says negative 5. So I got to go all the way to negative 5. From negative 5, I got to add 2. So I got to go to the right. And this is where I land. Negative 3. If you're drawing these number lines yourself, which is what you're probably doing right now, don't worry. Because again, usually we'll give you the number lines in class. but we won't give you anything further than -10 or +10 when we're practicing using the number line. All right, last two examples. All right, so let me show you how to do the first one. So I'm going to start at 0. Then I'm going to go to -4. But then it says -5 from there. Okay, so I make my other little line. It says -5. I'm going to go to the left because it's minus. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I end up at -9. So -4 minus 5 is -9. And just so that we are clear, I should be circling all of my answers always. Okay, so I might want to uncircle those ones. Circle, 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 circle. Okay, so that it makes it very easy to find our answer. All right, for this last one right here, I want you to go ahead and practice that on your own. Go ahead and press pause and then come back when you're done to check. Go ahead. All right, for this one, you'll start at 0, go to -2. From -2, go one more to the left, and here we are, -3. So -2 minus 1 is -3. So number lines are a really good place to start when you're trying to understand adding and subtracting integers, so that later in your head you could think about, oh, am I going on the right on the number line, or am I going to the left? But it can be very time consuming. Okay, very time consuming. Meaning you're not going to want to use a number line if I give you -115 plus 452. You're not going to want to use that. You're going to want to use the rules. Okay, that's what you're going to want to use. But before I get to that, we're going to talk about the jar method, which is just another small strategy to help you remember how to add and subtract integers. Okay, so we did part 1. Now we're going to use something called the jar method. Okay, the jar method is a pretty cool method for when you're learning about adding and subtracting integers, because if I give you a problem like -3 plus 2, you can easily put in 3 negatives for -3, 2 positives, and then you'll be able to do something to get to the answer. And that something relies on something very, very important when we are talking about numbers. Okay, and that is opposites. So what's true about opposites? Opposites cancel each other out, meaning they combine to make 0. If your aunt gives you $5, but then she takes away those $5, you have $0. Okay, so this is a +5 and a -5. They cancel. They cancel each other out. Think of a number line. If I am at 0, I go to +5, so that's 5. But then I minus 5, I get back at 0. So it's 0. It's 0. When I have opposites, if I have +5, the opposite of +5 is -5. If I have -10, the opposite of -10 is +10. So they cancel each other out. Okay, this is what we're going to use to help us with the jar method for understanding. So let's start off with some basic ones. So example 1 and 2. Okay, so when you're going to do this, you're going to look at each number individually. Okay, is that a +4 or is that a -4? It's a +4. How do I know? Because it doesn't have a negative in front. If you don't see a sign, then it's positive. Okay, so I'm going to put 4 positives in here. 4 positives. Now let me circle the second number. It's +8. Okay, so I'm going to put 8 positives in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, well, let's add them all up. Well, how many do I have altogether? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12. 12 what? 12 positives. Well, we know that 4 plus 8 is 12. We just proved it. That's why it works. because you have 4 positives plus 8 positives, that makes 12 positives. If you had 4 cookies and you're adding 8 cookies, how many cookies do you have altogether? 12 cookies. So let's look at number 2. All right. Ooh, I have -5. So that means I'm going to put 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. But then I'm going to put 6 positives. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, remember what I said about positives and negatives, like they're opposites? So if I have a negative and I have a positive, they can cancel, because what that really is saying is -1 and a +1. Those cancel. They cancel to make 0. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Cancel, cancel, cancel. So cancel the opposites. Cancel, cancel. Ooh, there's nothing left. I have nothing left to cancel. I just have this 1 positive. So I have 1 positive, so my answer is +1. So -5 plus 6 equals +1. Okay, and it makes sense if you think of the number line. I go all the way to -5. Then I go 6 forward. Well, I know from here to here is 5. 1 more would be at 1 to make 6, because from here to here would be 6 jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get +1. Let's practice these ones. Okay, I have -8 plus 4. And when you're drawing these jars, you can just draw a rectangle. That's fine. Okay, so I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 negatives to represent that number. But now I have 4 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cancel, 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 cancel. Because remember, opposites cancel. So what am I left with? I'm left with 4 negatives. So -8 plus 4 equals -4. Okay, -4. Okay, well, what about example 4? Because look, it says examples 3 and 4. That was 3, this was 4. I get 2 negatives for -2. How many negatives does that represent? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, nothing cancels, so just add them all up. Kind of like the first one. When I had 4 positives right here and then 8 positives, nothing canceled, so that's why I just added all the positives up. Same thing for this one. Nothing cancels, so I'm just going to add up all those negatives. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 negatives. So -2 minus 6 equals -8. And think of the number line. You start off at 0, you go to -2, and then you minus 6 this way. Where do you land? -8. So go ahead and try those two. Press pause after I'm done talking and see what you get, and then come back to check your work. Go ahead. All right, let's look at example 5. So this makes 7 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I went out of the jar a little, but that's okay. But let me just rewrite it just because I have the jar there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I have 3 negatives. So I'm adding 3 negatives to the jar. I'm putting 3 negatives in there. Nothing cancels. So how many do I have all together? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. 10 what? 10 negatives. So -7 minus 3 equals -10. All right, example 6. I have 3 positives and I have 6 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, there's opposites in here. Cancel the opposites. They go away. They make 0. So I'm left with 3 negatives. So 3 minus 6 equals -3. Okay, last one to practice. Try these ones and then come back to check your work. Go ahead and press pause. All right, let's check out this one. That's 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 9 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So cancel, 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 cancel. I'm left with 4 positives. So negative 5 plus 9 equals positive 4. You can write it like that, or you can put the plus in front to represent positive. It does not matter. All right, last example. I have 8 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I have 9 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nothing cancels, so I add them all up. And when I do that, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I get 17 negatives. So negative 8 minus 9 equals negative 17. All right, so we use the number line to add and subtract integers. That was one strategy. And we learned another strategy called the jar method. These are meant for small numbers. You're not going to want to use a number line or a jar if I give you a problem that says this, negative 452 plus 312. Do not. So that is why we're going to teach you the rules, which will teach you using a song, which is what's coming up. All right, here is our outline. All right, so we just learned about using the number line, the jar method. Now we're going to go into the rules for adding and subtracting integers. So the rules for adding and subtracting integers. We're going to show you using a song. Why? Because 1, it's catchy, and 2, I will be making you sing this in class. So please make sure you know how to sing this song. All right, so the way that we're going to sing it is to the tune of Row, Row, Row Your Boat. So hopefully you remember what that song is. If not, don't worry, it's coming up. All right, so here are the lyrics to the part we're going to use for the song. So in case you haven't heard it, it goes, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So basically that's what you're going to be singing to that tune. Okay, so let's do it again. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So one more time, just that we get into the rhythm. You should be singing this. You should be singing this. Okay, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Okay. All right, so you will sing this song to the rhythm of row, row, row your boat. So let's see. So here is the integer song, and it has the rules so that you could be able to do a problem like this without problems. That was pretty funny. A problem without problems. Interesting. Okay, so it goes. Same sign, add and keep. Just like row, row, row your boat. So same sign, add and keep. Different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the farther number or use a jar instead. So let's do it again. Same sign, add and keep. Different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the farther number or use a jar instead. One more time. Same sign, add and keep. I'm not seeing you singing. Same sign, add and keep. Different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the farther number or use a jar instead. So you're going to have to memorize this song. Okay, it's going to help us a lot. Okay, a lot. So let's think about what it's saying. It says same sign, add and keep. That's referring to problems that look like this. They have the same sign. They're both negative. Or if I just simply do 2 plus 3, they're both positive. Remember, if you don't see a sign in front, that means positive. Okay, same sign, add and keep. When we see the numbers 2 plus 3, we know, oh, that's 5. And we don't even think about it. We don't even think to put a positive in front because we automatically think of positives. Well, you are in the world of integers now. You have to know about negatives. All right, so if I look at this one, same sign, add and keep. Okay, what that means is I'm going to add these numbers and I'm going to keep the sign that was there. Makes sense if I have a jar, -2, 3 negatives, nothing cancels, so I add them all up. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. It matches. Okay. The next part is different sign subtract. Keep the sign of the farther number. So what that means is if I have -5 plus 2, let's look to see what it has for a jar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 2 positives. Cancel, cancel. My answer is -3. Let's use the rules. Different signs subtract. They're different signs. One's a negative, one's a positive. So I'm going to subtract 5 minus 2. That's 3. Okay. Keep the sign of the farther number. Which number, -5 or +2, is further away from 0? Well, +2 is 2 jumps away from 0. 2 jumps, while -5 is 5 jumps. So -5 is further away. So my answer is going to take the sign of that number, negative. So -3. Okay, so -3. And then it says, or use a jar instead. Last resort, use a jar. Don't use a jar, please. Please don't do it. Don't do it. All right, so this slide right here just basically outlines exactly what I stated on the previous slide about if it says same sign, add, and keep. You just say, oh, 5 plus 3, that's 8. Keep the sign that's there, which is negative. Makes sense, because if you do 5 negatives and 3 negatives, nothing cancels. Add them all up, you get -8. If we have different signs subtract. So 8 minus 5, that's 3. Keep the sign of the further number. The further number away from 0, is it -8 or +5? It's -8, so keep the sign. So the answer is -3. Let's prove that with the jar since these numbers are small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5 positives. Cancel, 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 cancel. My answer is 3 negatives. So the rules work. Okay, you're going to want to use the rules for larger numbers. Large numbers. Use a jar for small numbers. Okay, do not use a number line or jar for large numbers. Please use the rules. Think of the song. And the song is coming up again. Same sign, add and keep. Different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the further number, or use a jar instead. As you can see, I have a box around these 2 lines. Different sign, subtract, keep the sign of the further number, because that refers to the same type of problem, like this. -10 plus 2. This refers to like -10 minus 2. Okay. So let's have some practice with this with the first part, same sign, add, and keep. Okay, so here it goes. I have -20 minus 13. Do not use a number line or jar. Okay, same sign, add, and keep. They're the same sign. So we're going to add the numbers and keep the sign. Oh, okay, well, the signs were negative. So there you go, negative. Perfect. Now what about this one? -15 minus 10. Which part of the song is it? Oh, the first part. Same sign, add, and keep. So 15 plus 10, add the numbers and keep the sign. They're both negative, so -25. Next example. Okay, 24 plus 54. It still applies. Same sign, add, and keep. They're both positives. Remember, if you don't see a positive in front of the number, it's positive. So I'm going to do 24 plus 54 and keep the sign. The sign was positive, so it's still just +78. Okay, and the next one, same signs. Ooh, they're the same signs. So 100 plus 80, that's 180. Keep the sign, negative. There we go, -180. All right, go ahead and practice this one. Press pause and come back to check your work. Go ahead. All right, welcome back. Keep same sign, add, and keep. They're the same sign, so I'm going to do 17 plus 13. I get 30, so I get negative 30 as my answer. Example 6, same signs. They're the same signs. They're both negative. That means they're the same sign. If they're both positive, like on example 3, they were both positives, then it's the same thing. Add the numbers, which is what we did, and keep the signs that were the same. So for here, add the numbers, 17 plus 13, just the numbers, and then keep the sign. Keep the sign that was there, which was negative. So let's look at this one. So same sign, add the numbers, and keep the sign. So negative 5 minus 35 is negative 40. Think of the number line. You're at 0, you go to negative 5, and you minus 35. So you go 35 more than 5. You end up at negative 40. All right, now let's practice the next part of the song when the signs are different. Different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the further number. Okay, so here we go. Example 7. Are they the same sign or different? They're different, so we're going to use the middle part of the song. Different sign, subtract. Okay, so just take 40 and minus 24. Okay. Oh, well, 4 can't get taken away from 0, so I'm going to have to borrow. Okay, 16. I subtracted. Now it says keep the sign of the further number. Which number is further away from 0? Negative 40 or positive 24? Negative 40, so keep the sign. So the answer is negative 16. Next one. Are they the same signs or different? Different. Okay, so you're going to subtract. 80 minus 10 is 70. Now keep the sign of the further number. Which one's further away from 0? Positive 10 or negative 80? Negative 80. So it's going to be negative 70. Think of them being subtracted. You have 80 negatives, if you can imagine that, and then 10 positives. Well, when you cancel the opposites, all the 10 positives go away. You're left with a bunch of negatives. 70 negatives to be in fact. Okay, go ahead and try these two and then press pause. Press pause right now after I'm done talking and then come back to check your work. Go ahead. All right, welcome back. So it says, ooh, whoa, look at these signs. They're the same. What a tricky one. That's right here. Same sign, add and keep. So hopefully you caught that. So 34 plus 30, that's 4, 6, keep same sign, add and keep. So the answer is negative 64. Hopefully you didn't fall for the trick. All right, number 10, look at the signs. Are they the same or are they different? They're different. So what does the song say? Okay, same sign, add and keep. I'm thinking to myself here. Same sign, add and keep. Different sign, subtract. Oh, different sign, subtract. So 16 minus 8, that's 8. And keep the sign of the further number. Negative 16 is further away, so it's negative 8. So negative 16 plus 8 is negative 8. All right, one last one for practice. Go ahead and press pause and then come back when you're done. All right, so let's go ahead and try this one out. So are they the same signs or are they different? Always ask yourself, are they the same signs or different? They're different. One's a positive and one's a negative. So the next thing you ask yourself, are you going to add or subtract? Well, when they are the same, I add. When they are different, I subtract. They're different, so I'm going to do 90 minus 73. When I do that, I get 17. Okay, keep the sign of the further number. Negative 90 is further away, so my answer is negative 17. Okay, now let me look at number 12. Different sign, subtract. Okay, 45 minus 23, 2. Negative 45 is further away. There we go. The answer will not always be negative. What if it was 45 minus 23? Normally, before knowing integers in this way, you would just say, okay, 45 minus 23. Yeah, 45 minus 23, you get 22, and that was it for you. But really, look, which number is further away from 0? 45. Take the sign. It's positive. So your answer for that one would have been positive 22. All right, so we did adding and subtracting rules just now. Before that, we used the jar method. And before that, we used the number line. Now let's look at multiplying and dividing integers using rules. So multiplying and dividing integers, okay? So when I give you a number like -5 times 4, I want you to look at this in 2 different ways, okay? First, not in 2 different ways, think of like in 2 different steps. First, just go ahead and look at the numbers separately and multiply them. Okay, what's 5 times 4? 20. Okay. Now look at the signs. That's what this is. Look at the signs. A negative times a positive. Ooh, what is that going to be? Okay, that's what it says right here. If the signs are different, your answer is always going to be negative. If your signs are positive, if your signs are the same, it's always going to be positive. Try thinking about what you already know. Well, if you were just, before this class, if you were given 2 times 4, you would tell me 8. Okay, you would tell me 8. But it's because a positive times a positive is a positive. If they're the same signs and you're multiplying or dividing them, the answer is always positive. Same thing if I had -8 times -2. I do 8 times 2, which is 16. A negative times a negative, same signs make positive. So positive 16. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So something to help you remember that, if that's a little difficult for you to remember, like a different signs negative, same signs positive, then there are some other strategies to help you out. Okay, one is called the tic-tac-toe, which is pretty cool. So the first thing, if you're using this as a strategy and using it to show your work, all right, draw the tic-tac-toe lines, just like that, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to write positives going down diagonally. That's the first thing. Then after that, each of the remaining spaces, you put a negative inside. Okay, so let me do that again. You're showing your work. You're going to put positives going down diagonally. Then you are going to put negatives in all the empty spaces. Okay, so let me show you how to use this now. Say if I have -4 times +4. Well, it's a negative times a positive. Well, remember, if I don't see a positive in front of the number, it's positive. So they're different signs. So let me show you how to use a tic-tac-toe to help you with this. Okay, they're different signs. So it's a negative to represent this negative times a positive to represent this +4. So that means our answer is negative. Remember what we said? Different signs make a negative. So negative. 8 times 4 is 32. So that proves that it's a negative. Let's try it in a different way. Okay, well, if I do a negative times a positive, I already did the middle. Well, if you look at this, you don't have to go from left to right. You can go from right to left. Look, a negative times a positive equals a negative. Okay. You can also go from the top to the bottom. Okay, a negative times a positive equals a negative. It works. Okay, it definitely works. You can even go it the other way, just knowing that they're different signs. A positive times a negative is a negative. So you can do it in many different ways. Look, positive times a negative equals a negative. It works. Okay, well, what if I didn't have that? What if I didn't have that problem, but I had like 6 times 6? Well, we know that that's 36. Okay, let's prove it using this in terms of signs. Okay, it's the same sign. Where do I see same signs? Here, look, a positive times a positive is a positive. So that's why it makes positive 36. Well, what if I had it like this? A negative times a negative. Well, same signs is going to make a positive 36. Let me show you using this tic-tac-toe chart. Okay, so look. A negative times a negative is a positive. Or look, a negative times a negative is a positive. There's lots of ways that you can use this. Okay, look, a negative times a negative equals a positive. A negative times a negative equals a positive. So it doesn't matter which way you look at it. Okay, it will work. All right, let's look at the pizza face. Pizza face looks like this, and it's something small that you can draw on your paper to show your work. Like if there are different signs, you could put your finger over those two. What's left over is a negative. Okay, so let me do that again. So say if you have negative 3 times 4. That's a negative and a positive. So put your finger, pretend this is my finger. I'm going to put it over a negative and a positive. Cover those up. I'm left with a negative. Well, what if I had 6 times 6? That's a positive times a positive. Wait, I don't see a positive times a positive. I don't see two positives in there. It's okay, but you see two negatives. They're the same sign. Put your finger over it. What are you left with? Positive. So that will get you your positive 36. So I'm going to go ahead and give you these problems. Go ahead and try them out, see what you get, and then come back to check your work. Okay, go ahead. All right, so I'm going to show my tic-tac-toe for this. All right, 4 times 9, that's 36. A negative times a negative is a positive, so there we go. Okay, 2 times 8 is 16. And do my tic-tac-toe. I want to show some type of work for each problem. Okay, so 2 times 8, we said it was 16. A negative times a positive, so a negative times a positive is a negative, so negative 16. 10 times 5 is 50. Do my tic-tac-toe. Okay, a negative times a negative is a positive, so positive 50. Now let me do my pizza face for these ones just in case you like that one instead. 12 times 5. 12 times 5 is 60. Right, so it's a positive and negative. Cross those off. I'm left with negative. And look, they're different signs, so we make it a negative. You can also use a song here to try to help you, even though the song is mainly for adding and subtracting, like same sign, add, and keep. Look, same sign, add. Think of same sign, positive. Different signs, subtract. Different signs, negative. So you can apply it in a way to help you with this too. But again, the integer song is supposed to just be for adding and subtracting. Okay, so a 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. A negative times a negative. Cross those off, I get positive. And I didn't show my work here because I was comparing it to the song, but cross those off because they're the same, I get positive. Okay. All right, last slide for practicing the rules with multiplying and dividing. And we actually haven't done any dividing, but the rules still apply. It applies for multiplying and dividing. So let's actually do these together. So let's just divide, because if I look back at the slide, it says multiply or divide the numbers first, whatever it is that I'm giving you. So far I've given you multiplication. Then look at the signs. So then 15 divided by 3 is 5. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. Different signs, negative. All right, 20 divided by 4 is 5. Same signs, so positive. So cross those off, I get positive as my answer. 40 divided by 8. What's 40 divided by 8? That's 5. And it's a positive divided by a negative. Cross those off, I get negative. Okay, so 45 divided by 9, that's 5. Same signs, cross off, I get positive. All right, 8 divided by 12. Ooh, well, I can't do 8 divided by 12. So what I could do is simplify. Okay, so a common factor between 8 and 12, that's going to get me, I can divide by 4, and I get 2/3. All right, but look, it's a negative divided by positive. Just keep that negative there. All right, ooh, I get 2 over negative 3. There we go. Same thing kind of here. Or you can think of it like this, like pretend I didn't even think of the negative. I could do my signs first. What's a positive divided by negative? Cross those out, they're different. I get negative, so my answer somewhere is going to be negative. Okay. And for this one, a negative divided by negative is a positive, so my answer will be positive, but I can simplify this, and I get 1/2, so positive 1/2. Okay. If you're looking at number 11, you're like, whoa, what about that negative? That's what this next slide is for. Okay, so what if I have fractions, and what happens with all these negatives if I'm multiplying fractions with negatives? Well, just multiply across and simplify. Look, what's 4 times 2? 8. What's a negative times a negative? Positive. What's 5 times 3? 15. There we go. Okay, just do it in steps. What's 2 times 3? 6. What's a negative times a negative? Positive. What's 8 times 6? 48. What's a positive times a negative? Negative. Oh, but we can simplify that one. Okay, so 6 over 48. Let's say if we divide by 6. Okay, we get 1/8. But don't forget that there was a negative there, so it should be negative. But where do we put that negative? Well, that's what this is talking about right here. It does not matter if the negative is in the numerator, the denominator, or in front of the fraction. It still means the fraction is negative. So what this is saying is I could have put the negative on top. I could have put it in the middle. Or I could put it on the bottom. It still means the whole fraction is negative. Because look, a negative divided by a positive is a negative. It still means the whole fraction is negative. This is just saying the whole fraction is negative. This, a positive divided by negative, is a negative. It still means the whole fraction is negative. That's what these examples are saying. It does not matter where you put them. It still makes it negative. Okay. If I have a negative divided by a negative like this one, it just means positive. So it's positive 4/5. All right, last slide for practice with these. Go ahead and try these, press pause, and then come back to check your work. All right, this one should have been negative 18. Okay, different signs, negative. All right, this will be positive 2. Okay, same signs, positive. All right, this I would have to simplify, and I'll get 1 over negative 5. This one multiply across. Okay, but a negative divided by negative, I can't have 2 separate signs like that just hanging out. So it's going to make a positive, so 4/25. Okay, and this one, ooh, whoa, there's lots of going on. So 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. Okay, now let's look at the sign. A negative times a negative is a positive. A positive times a negative is a negative. So negative 24. And this one's a tricky one, right? This is one that they like to show you on like the Arizona Merit or on the benchmarks. So if I had 2 to the third, that would mean 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, but this is negative 2/3 to the third power. So that means I'm going to have negative 2/3 times negative 2/3 times negative 2/3. Well, just treat it like number 4. It's just fractions that they're multiplying. So what's 2 times 2 times 2? 8. What's a negative times a negative times a negative? Negative times negative is positive, times negative is negative. All right, what's 3 times 3? 9 times 3 is 27. So negative 8 over 27. So let me rewrite that better. So negative 8 over 27. That's my answer. All right, we are almost done. Now we're going to just simplify some integers. What that means is, what if I give you a problem that looks like this? When there's 2 signs in the middle. That's what's next. All right, so here we go. So, whoa, there's 2 signs in the middle for each of these problems. Well, if you notice, it's just going to be the same thing over and over again. If the signs in the middle are the same, turn it into a positive. If they are different, turn it into a negative. So both signs will turn into 1. Both signs turn into one sign. So let me see, into one sign. So let's look at 4. A negative and a negative. Even though this looks a little shorter, it's just the way that it was typed. So 2 negatives next to each other make a positive. So both of those turn into one sign. Then just bring down the numbers and then solve. 4 plus 5 is 9. Now for this one, they're different signs. So I'm going to put a negative. So 4 minus 5. And then I can use my jar or the rules. Are they the same sign? No. Are they different? Yes. Subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. Take the sign of the further number, negative, so negative 1. Here, different signs again. Similar to this one, except that this one had a negative first and then a positive. It doesn't matter. It's a positive and then a negative. It doesn't matter. They're still different signs. So make that into a negative. So 4 minus 4 is 0. Here, same sign, positive. And again, you can apply the song to this in a way. Same sign, add. Add is positive. The addition sign. So bring down negative 4. Bring down 4. Remember, these two signs turn into one sign. You have this 4 right here and this negative 4 on the outside. And negative 4 plus 4, that also makes 0 because those are opposites. Okay. All right, and that's the end of the lesson. Hopefully you survived. Thank you so much for the interpreter who's interpreting this video. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And just so that you know, this video is very, very important because you're going to see integers for the rest of your math education all the way through college. I promise you. See you later. Bye.